Huh? Where's my bed?
It's been a year since I got married. I came to my in-laws' house for a relative's funeral, but for some reason, there wasn't a bed prepared for me. At first, I thought they just forgot, so I mentioned it to Evelyn, my mother-in-law, but she responded,
What are you talking about? It's all set up.
Well, no, I didn't see it anywhere.
Where did you look for? It's right outside.
Outside?
With that, she pointed to the doghouse in the yard.
It's hot in the summer, so why don't you sleep outside with the dog?
You've got to be kidding, right?
Nope, not kidding. We used to have a pretty big dog, so the doghouse is big. The dog we have now is smaller, so there's some extra space. I'm sure you can curl up in there just fine.
Wait, that's just way too cruel.
You should be grateful we're giving you a place to sleep at all.
While I was arguing with Evelyn, my sister-in-law, Cynthia, came out of the room.
What's going on?
When Evelyn explained the situation to Cynthia, and that my bed was the doghouse in the yard, she laughed and said,
The yard? That's the doghouse. Well, humans and dogs are both animals, so I guess it's not impossible. You should try it. Think of it as a fun experience. But if it were me, I wouldn't want to sleep somewhere that probably has bugs.
You know that, don't you? You both know I can't sleep there. This is just harassment. If you've got something to say, just say it.
I said, slightly angry at the two of them for being so shameless.
Don't get so worked up. You want us to speak our minds? You sure? 'Cause once we start, it'll take all day.
Yeah, I agree.
I've always known you two don't like me. But if that's the case, why not just ignore me? Why do you go out of your way to make my life difficult? If you're trying to relieve your stress, do it somewhere else.
You really are a mouthy one. Honestly, I don't know what Kyle saw in you. It makes no sense to me at all. Cynthia, didn't I tell you him to watch out for women like her?
I did. But he got all high and mighty, saying, I'll choose my own wife, and didn't listen to me. He even said I should stop being such a drifter, and that caused another big fight. I just knew from the start that she wasn't right for him.
They continued to grumble on, spewing more passive-aggressive comments. I realized there was no changing these people, no matter what I said. As I thought that, a plan formed in my mind. Even though I was boiling with anger, for some reason, I felt unusually clear-headed.
Okay, fine. If you're going to insist, I'll sleep in the doghouse or the yard.
You're really gonna do it?
Seriously? I might have to post this on social media.
You two will be satisfied if I sleep out there, right?
Yeah, it'll feel like I've got you in line. Makes me feel good.
Sure. But remember, whatever happens, you guys have brought this on yourselves. Don't regret it later.
We won't regret a thing.
Thus, I ended up spending the night in my in-laws' yard with their dog. By the way, my husband Kyle wasn't with me that night. He couldn't get off work, so he was supposed to come straight to the funeral on the following day. That means he wouldn't see any of this. If he did, he'd definitely blow a fuse. Kyle had been pretty determined to marry me. There's a reason for that. At first, he had actually gone to his mother and sister to ask for their blessing for our marriage. Apparently, he never had a great relationship with them, but even so, he wanted their support for such a big life event. He had told me beforehand that his relationship with them wasn't great, so I braced myself for our first meeting. On the day of the meeting, Kyle, with looking nervous, went to his parents' house and asked them to approve and bless our marriage. However, his mother and sister said something shocking.
Your name is Joyce, right? So, are you marrying Kyle for his money?
I'm sorry.
Hey, what are you talking about, Mom? Joyce is not that kind of person.
Well, I don't know about that. From where I stand, it's hard to believe anyone would marry you for anything other than money.
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know what kind of face you put on when you're outside, but if I think about the attitude you've shown us, I doubt there's any woman who'd fall for you.
Yeah, I totally agree. You never listen to any advice we give, even when we're just trying to help. Plus, you've got such a cocky attitude. Any woman who falls for you must be after your money.
So that's how you both see Joyce and me?
Yeah, pretty much.
We're just trying to save you from making a mistake. If you two get married, you might both end up miserable.
Instead of congratulating us, Evelyn and Cynthia started saying we shouldn't get married. They kept assuming that I was only after Kyle's money, and that if he was difficult at home, he must be the same outside, based solely on their own biased views. Furthermore, this was the first time I was meeting them. Just as I was about to stand up, unable to take it anymore, Kyle snapped first.
All right, I get it. In that case, we're getting married.
What? Did you even hear a word we said?
We're just trying to give you good advice.
Mind your own business. Enough already. You have any idea what it took for us to get to this point? It's not just me. Joyce knew how bad things were between you two and me, and she still came here today. But all you guys have done is make assumptions and talk down to us.
We're doing this for your own good.
So I'm telling you, it's none of your business. This is unbelievable. I should have never come here. If Dad were still alive, he'd be yelling at both of you right now.
Enough about him. And if you go through with this wedding, I won't forgive you.
Like I care. It's already done.
That's how we ended up pushing forward with the wedding, despite Evelyn and Cynthia objecting the whole time. After being pressured by other relatives, they reluctantly accepted it in the end. They did show up to the wedding, but they didn't smile once, and they never said congratulations. Since then, our relationship with my in-laws has been pretty distant. We only go back when necessary, and it's always been very dry and cold. However, things changed when a close relative of Kyle's and Evelyn's passed away due to illness. There was a lot to prepare for, but since Kyle was away on a business trip and couldn't make it back right away, I came in his place. Moreover, I had to stay overnight. This was my first time staying at my in-laws' house. Given the already strained relationship, it was bound to be awkward, so I didn't really want to go. Even though Kyle told me I didn't have to go, but I felt like I had to for his sake. As his wife, I felt like it was my duty, and I put aside my bad feelings and went. Nevertheless, right from the start, my in-laws began harassing me, and they made me sleep in the doghouse. I was prepared for some unpleasantness, but I never imagined it would be this bad. Of course, there's no way I could sleep in a doghouse. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned in ages, and it was filthy. I thought about calling Kyle right then and there, but instead, I decided to record what was happening so he could see for himself. I started filming the doghouse and the dog, even showing the inside. Then, I slipped my phone into my chest pocket and started recording video. I spoke to Evelyn and Cynthia again.
Evelyn, can you please let me back in the house?
What? Why would we do that?
You told me not to regret it earlier, right? So why don't you let me stay the night? I want to post this on social media for fun.
There's no way I can sleep in the doghouse. It's way too dirty in there. It's just not a livable space.
Yeah, I figured. But too bad, there's no place for you to sleep in here.
I'll sleep in the hallway or anywhere. Just please let me stay in the house.
The doghouse suits you just fine.
I'm begging you. Please.
You really want to sleep inside that badly?
Yes.
Then divorce Kyle.
Why?
I can't stand the idea of that arrogant brat succeeding in marriage. I want to make sure it fails.
Fails? As parents, wouldn't you be happy if your child found happiness?
Not if they're defiant like he is. He bit the hand that fed him, and I want him to realize he should have listened to his mother.
Evelyn gave me a sinister smile as she said that. At that moment, it became crystal clear to me. She wanted nothing more than to see Kyle suffer. As for Cynthia, she felt the same way. These two definitely deserved some kind of punishment for their behavior. I decided to keep the conversation going.
But are you really okay with that? From what I've heard, both Kyle's father and the relative who just passed away adored him. And yet, here you are, wishing for his unhappiness.
You just don't get it, do you? The dead can't say anything, so it doesn't matter. That relative you're talking about, he always asked, "How's Kyle doing?" every time we saw them, as if anything really changed. Besides, it's not like I cared about how he was doing. Actually, I'm glad I don't have to hear that question anymore. Oh, and that doghouse? That relative made it. We kept it around while they were alive, but now we can finally get rid of it.
Yeah, it's always been in the way. But we pretended we were keeping it because we were still attached to the old dog, not the one we have now, right, Mom?
Exactly. In reality, we were just keeping it for when that relative was still alive.
Their conversation was nothing short of disgusting. I felt anger bubbling up inside me, but I managed to stay calm. Still, I figured this was a good point to wrap things up.
Well then, since neither of you is letting me inside, I'll just pack up and stay at a hotel.
Oh dear. I knew you couldn't handle it.
I thought so.
Yeah, I couldn't. By the way, you should probably get rid of that doghouse, right? You don't need it anymore, do you?
That's true. Maybe I'll use it for stress relief. But if I do, we'll need a new doghouse.
Oh, don't worry about that. I already bought one from a local store and brought it here in a rental truck.
Wow, you're really prepared. Did you buy it for yourself?
Yeah, kind of.
You're pretty funny. All right, let's break it down.
I want to help too.
With that, the two of them grabbed tools and started demolishing the doghouse, all while making more disrespectful remarks about the deceased relative. I just stood there quietly, watching with the dog. Of course, I recorded the whole thing. Later, they let me into the house for the night, claiming it was just for fun. The next morning, Kyle was driving straight from his business trip, and we made plans to meet up. When he picked me up, I told him everything that had happened and showed him the video.
Unbelievable. Those jerks.
His eyes widened in anger, clearly getting more and more upset. When I suggested showing the video to his extended relatives instead of just the immediate family, he looked worried.
Are you serious? What if they blame you? They might think it's inappropriate to show something like this at a funeral.
Don't worry. I'll handle it.
How?
There's a saying about using a woman's tears as a weapon. I was going to put on quite the performance to bring those two down. A few hours later, Evelyn and Cynthia arrived at the venue with solemn and exaggerated expressions, clearly acting. They started offering condolences to the bereaved family.
Oh my. He was always so kind to us. I'll never forget his words.
He was so gentle with me.
It was almost laughable how well they played their parts, given that just the previous day, they were smiling while destroying the doghouse. In fact, the only people who didn't know that were the bereaved family. None of the relatives watching them had any tears to shed on their behalf. It was just when Evelyn and Cynthia were about to approach the relatives after greeting the family. One of the relatives showed anger.
You two, get out of here. You clearly have no intention of mourning. After treating Kyle's wife so horribly and gleefully destroying the doghouse that the deceased relative made, you've got no place at this funeral. Just leave.
Hey, what are you talking about? We didn't do anything like that, right, Joyce?
Both Evelyn and Cynthia turned to look at me. Then, I let the tears flow.
I wish I could have stopped them, but I'm sorry. I just didn't have the strength to.
Wait, what are you saying?
So it's true? You really made her sleep in the doghouse?
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness.
No, wait a second. There's a misunderstanding. We did say she could try sleeping there, but she actually slept inside the house.
Yeah, that's right.
Then what's this?
Hold on, is this?
One of the relatives showed them something. It was the video I had taken of the doghouse. The footage showed me, looking sad, getting ready to sleep in the doghouse. Of course, I didn't actually sleep there, but the video was enough.
When did you record this? Wait, was that all an act?
An act? What do you mean? You both told me to sleep in the doghouse. And didn't you also say if I wanted to come inside, I had to divorce Kyle?
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe the two of you. To think you'd do something like this before a funeral. Well, it doesn't matter if it's before a funeral or not. It's unbelievable that you'd treat someone like this. I'm going to have to reconsider how we associate with you from now on.
Please wait. Joyce, how could you do this to us?
Thanks to you, we've been humiliated. What are you going to do about it?
I warned you both, didn't I? I told you not to regret telling me to sleep in the doghouse. I gave you the same warning you gave Kyle about our marriage. But you didn't listen. So, isn't this the natural outcome?
How dare you? You've got to be kidding.
Who's the one kidding here?
What do you mean?
You treat Joyce like garbage, telling her to sleep in a doghouse? Who's really the joke here? Maybe you should be the one sleeping outside. A house is a place for humans, and what you two did, that's not human. Maybe living outside would suit you guys better.
What did you just say?
Well, I don't know how you're going to live from now on, but I'm cutting ties with you two. Not just because of me, but because of what you guys did to Joyce. That's something I can never forgive.
And we feel the same. I never want to see your face again.
Oh, it won't just be us cutting ties. The rest of the family probably will too.
What?
Didn't you hear what was just said? We're reconsidering how we'll deal with you two. That's what everyone's thinking. You guys have been getting help from the relatives lately, haven't you? You know what? That's all going to stop.
You've got to be kidding. You mean even the groceries?
Of course, after Dad passed away, everyone felt sorry for you and tried to help out. But now that they know what kind of people you two really are, no one's going to want to support you guys.
No.
Hey, Mom!
Well, that's it. Oh, don't forget to sprinkle holy water around when you leave.
This is how the incident finally came to an end. As for Evelyn and Cynthia, I heard that they've been managing things on their own since then. However, they couldn't adjust to the sudden drop in their standard of living, and they constantly argue about money. It seems their relationship was always based on money, and once that ran out, so did their bond. Now, they've started living separately, working hard just to get by. Meanwhile, Kyle and I have something new to look forward to, a baby. We're going to be parents this year. I am determined to give this child the love and care they deserve.